He was just another file in a drawer, another number, another name, another black boy in a hoodie being processed through the system. His name was Jamal Avery, 15 years old, slender, soft-spoken, from a neighborhood where helicopters replaced birds and sirens, never slept. A place where even innocence could be interpreted as guilt, depending on who was looking. He was arrested outside a liquor store that he had never even entered. The store owner had been assaulted minutes before. No security footage, no other witnesses, just panic and assumptions. The man pointed at Jamal as the officer pulled up. No words exchanged, no explanation, just cuffs. They brought him in like they always do. One of 5 arrests that day. The holding cell was full of noise, voices trying to scream for help into a system that had long gone deaf. A public defender visited him briefly. "You should take the plea deal," she said. "It's your best chance." "But I didn't do anything," he whispered. "That doesn't matter," she replied, with eyes tired from fighting too many losing battles. He was charged with felony assault. 3 years in a juvenile detention facility, if he confessed. But Jamal didn't confess. He didn't even cry. He waited.
In that cold cell, with no one believing him, he started reading. Law books, case files, constitutional rights, precedents. He begged the guards for old legal textbooks from the storage room. They laughed and brought them anyway. Every night, under a weak flickering light, Jamal read. He studied. He memorized. He built his defense not just on facts, but on understanding the very rules that had been used against people like him for generations. After 6 months, when his court date finally arrived, something changed. He told the judge he wanted to represent himself. Laughter echoed. The judge, a man in his 60s with gray hair and a reputation for impatience, raised an eyebrow. "You're what? Representing yourself?" He gave the boy a long stare. He saw only what he expected. A scared, undereducated black teen trying to act smart. Jamal was granted permission to proceed, mostly because they all thought he would fail, and fail quickly. But failure never came. Instead, the courtroom began to shift. Jamal approached the witness stand with quiet confidence. He asked questions, not angrily, not defiantly, but precisely. He cross-examined the store owner who had accused him, pointing out the inconsistencies in his story, the changing timeline, the contradictions in his statements to police. He asked why the security cameras weren't working that day, though they had worked every day before and after. He referenced local street camera data, which he had subpoenaed on his own, with guidance he found in a juvenile law textbook. He showed timestamps, location metadata, even local cell tower pings that contradicted the timeline of the alleged crime. The courtroom, once dismissive and full of smirks, fell silent. The prosecutor sat straighter. The judge leaned forward. Even the bailiff, who had chuckled earlier, now kept his eyes fixed on the boy. Witness after witness, he dismantled the accusations with the calmness of someone twice his age. He didn't shout. He didn't accuse. He presented. He demonstrated how bias, subtle, dangerous, had placed him in that courtroom. He spoke of how the system often demanded confessions before offering justice. He described what it meant to grow up fearing institutions meant to protect you, and in doing so, he gave voice not just to his own pain, but to millions of boys like him. The jury sat still. Even the judge, once irritated and dismissive, began taking notes. By the time the trial was over, Jamal had done something rare. He had not only proven his innocence, he had educated the very people who were ready to convict him. The verdict came quickly, not guilty. But the courtroom didn't erupt. There was no applause, only silence. The kind of silence that comes when shame meets truth. Jamal didn't smile. He nodded politely, gathered his folder, and walked out. But that was only the beginning. His story spread, not just in local newspapers, but in national headlines. He was invited to speak at youth law summits. He received scholarships from organizations he'd never heard of. He started a free legal awareness group for young black students, teaching them their rights, teaching them to speak with clarity and dignity in the face of doubt. By the age of 18, he was mentoring law students older than him. By 21, he published a book, Defense Begins with Knowing You Matter. Today, he walks into courtrooms not in cuffs, but in tailored suits. Not as a defendant, but as a voice for the voiceless. And still, when he sits down before a judge, he remembers that day, that courtroom, that silence, because he knows you can chain a body, you can dismiss a voice, but the truth, when it's finally spoken, makes everyone listen. Truth doesn't shout, it stands, and it echoes.